Hi everyone, this is TOC 7 for Unit 5. In this video we are going to reflect a 2D figure on the coordinate plane. So your essential question is how, we can say 2D or we can say flat, how do I reflect a 2D figure on the coordinate plane. All right, so a reflection is when a figure is flipped on the coordinate plane. It can be flipped over the x-axis or the y-axis. And we are going to use prime marks to show whenever there has been a reflection. So the symbol used to indicate the location of the figure after it has been reflected over an axis. It's also called the new image, and a prime mark kind of looks like an apostrophe. So if my original point was A, then my new point, and I'm going to show you in a different color, my new point, I would write the reflected one as A prime. It kind of looks like an apostrophe. So let's try it out. Okay, so this first one, we are going to reflect over the x-axis. So let's go ahead and highlight the x-axis that goes horizontally. Okay, so that means we're going to flip it onto the other side. So right now our figure is in quadrant 1 and we're going to reflect it into quadrant 4. But first, before we do that, let's write our coordinates of the original figure. So our M is at 2, 1. Our N is at 0, 3. Our Q is at 4, 1. And our P is at 5, 2. Okay, so now I'm going to reflect this figure. So I see that my original M is just 1 away from the x-axis. So on this side, this new M or M prime should be just 1 away. It should be aligned vertically. The same thing with the Q. So this P in the original is over 1 to the right and up 1. And so on this side, with this new figure, we're also going to go over to the right, but we're going to go down 1 for our reflection. So this is P prime. And then with our N, the original N was on the y-axis. This one is going to stay on the y-axis, but the original N was at positive 3, and so our new N is going to be at negative 3. So now let's go ahead and connect our points. And as you can see, it looks like a reflection. Like if you were to look into a mirror, or if you were to look into water, it should look kind of like that type of reflection to you. So now we're going to put the coordinates of the new figure. So M prime is 2, negative 1. N prime is 0, negative 3. Q prime is 4, negative 1. And P prime is 5, negative 2. So our original shape was located in quadrant 1. And when we're talking about the quadrants, we use Roman numerals to represent the number. And now, since we reflected over the x-axis, our new image is in quadrant 4. If you don't remember this, just remember that our quadrants, they go in the order of a C because math is cool. Okay, so I want you to take a second and take a second to take a look at the difference between the original coordinates and the new coordinates. And you may notice that the x's stayed the same, however, the y coordinates were what changed. Okay, so if the y coordinate was originally a positive, it became a negative, and if it was originally a negative, it became a positive. The only exception is zeros. So when we reflect it over the x-axis, and if the y is a 0, then it will just stay a 0 in the reflection. All right, so now we are on the second page, and based off of what we just learned, that when you're reflecting something over the x-axis, the y's change, we should be able to look at these and know what our coordinates would be if it was reflected over the x-axis. So I want you to write right next to this, I want you to write y changes. Okay, so for this first one, don't worry about the x value, just worry about so you're going to copy the x value. Since that's a -9, the reflection will be a +9. Copy the x. Since this is a -4, the reflection will be a +4. This one is a 0, so our 2 is going to stay the same, and this time our 0 is going to stay the same because this is the exception to the rule. And then this last one, our 10 is going to stay, and since this is a +1, the reflection is going to be a -1. Okay, so next we are going to reflect over the y-axis. So let's go ahead and label the y-axis. That's what goes vertically, goes up and down. Okay, so we are going to reflect this quadrilateral onto the left side of the coordinate plane. But first, before we do that, let's write our original coordinates. So M is at 2, 1, N is at 0, 3, Q is at 4, 1, and P is at 5, 2. Okay, so when we reflect this over, as you can see, the original M is 2 spaces to the right. So this time for the new M, for M prime, we're going to go 2 spaces to the left. Okay, I'm going to erase these little marks that I made because you don't need that anymore. That was just to visualize. Okay, and then, so that's our new M prime, and then our Q prime is 2 more spaces to the left. Alrighty, then let's go ahead and draw P on the left, P prime. So if we look at our original P was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces out. So that means that on the left side, we need to go 5 spaces out as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here is my P prime. And then guys, our N is going to stay because our x value for our N is 0, and so N prime is also in the same spot as N. So let's go ahead and connect the dots. Okay, and let's write down our new coordinates. So m prime is at -2, +1. N is in the same spot, it's at 0, 3. Q prime is at -4, 1. And then P prime is at -5, -2. -5, +2. -5, +2. Real quick, take a look and see, compare the original coordinates and the new coordinates. Okay, so our original quadrilateral was located in quadrant 1. And then our new one that's reflected over the y-axis is in quadrant 2. Okay, so let's figure out what happened when we reflected it over the y-axis. This time the x coordinate changed. So if the x value was originally positive, it became negative. And if it was negative, it became positive. Again, the only exception is with 0. It will stay the same. If the x value is 0 in the original image, then for the reflection across the y-axis, it will also stay 0. Okay, so let's take a look at looking at coordinates and figuring out what the new coordinate would be for the reflection over the y-axis. So we know that x is what is going to change. So I want you to write x changes. Okay, so we have a +3 originally, so our reflection is going to have a -3, and we're going to leave our y the same. For the second one, our x is originally -2, so our reflection is going to be +2, and our y is going to stay the same. And then for this last one, our x value is -10, and so for our reflection, it's going to be +10, and our y stays the same. Okay, so now we're on the last page. What happens when you have to do 2 reflections with one shape? So the original shape has no prime marks. The first shape is going to have 1 prime mark. So for example, your original point might be A. Your first reflection will be A prime. The final shape after the second move will have 2 prime marks. This is called double prime. So it would look like this, A double prime. Okay, so right now we are going to do 2 reflections. So first, let's write down the coordinates of the original shape. So M is 2, 1, N is 0, 3, Q is 4, 1, and P is 5, 2. Okay, so the first thing it is asking us to do is reflect this image over the x-axis. So that's the first thing that we're going to do. I'm not going to read the rest of it. So if I reflect it over the x-axis, here is going to be my new M, my Q prime, my P prime, and my N prime. So I'm going to go ahead and connect the dots. And then over here to the left, I'm going to write the points. So M prime is 2, -1. N prime is 0, -3. Q prime is 4, -1. And P prime is 5, negative 2. Okay, now it's telling me to then reflect it over the y-axis. So now we're going to reflect it over this way because here is my y-axis goes up and down. Okay, so my n double prime is going to be in the same exact location. My p double prime is going to be right over here. My m double prime is going to be right here because remember the m stays just 2 spaces away from the y-axis. So look at the one to the right. So this is my m double prime, and then here is my q double prime. So let's connect the dots. And then let's write our coordinates. So m double prime is negative 2, negative 1. N double prime is 0, negative 3. Q double prime is negative 4, negative 1. And P double prime is negative 5, negative 2. All right, so we're going to go over this in class. Thanks for watching these notes. I hope you have a great rest of your day.